Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Day in Film MiniCast. It is your host, the Patinator, as always, and today we have yet another film from the current year and yet another A24 film on the chopping block, as it were. Today I watched Bring Her Back, directed by Danny and Michael Philippua, something like that. These are a directing duo, two brothers who were known for a couple years ago making Talk to Me, which I never ended up seeing, but I heard good things about overall. And so I was rather excited to see this movie. I convinced my mom and dad to come with me. I love seeing movies with them. I love expanding their horizons when it comes to film, and I hoped that this film would do a great job at that. And honestly, I can't say it did a remarkable job. This is a paranormal suspenseful horror movie, I guess you'd call it. This is a very modern feeling horror movie. It follows a lot of the traits that you'd expect. It even kind of has some analog horror elements to it, which I think is kind of funny. It feels like the directing brothers, who are rather young, are trying very hard to fit in with what's popular right now in the horror genre. And that doesn't have to be on the big screen, that also means online. So this movie, what's the biggest problem with this movie? And honestly, I have to say, the biggest problem with this movie is just how generic it feels. This movie takes the classic ritual done to help someone else storyline and doesn't really follow through with it in a lot of ways. And so obviously I am going to be kind of harsh with this movie. I went in expecting a good horror movie. The last A24 horror movie I saw was Heretic, probably, and I remember really enjoying that. So I have high expectations, and I haven't seen anything from these brothers, but I know for a fact that, Talk to Me was enjoyed, so it must be at least decent. And this movie really did let me down. So the reason it let me down is that it just doesn't commit. I know I said that earlier, but I'm finally to that point. I know it's been like 30 seconds. This movie completely fails to commit to a real sense of horror. A lot of this movie relies on the fact that no one likes watching a kid get hurt. And that's obviously true. Unless you're a weirdo sadist, you probably don't enjoy watching a kid get hurt or killed. And this movie is no different. A lot of this movie follows two very young actors who, at least to me, are the first time I've seen them. It follows the very young Sora Wong, who's very talented. This is her first role ever. She plays a pretty good Piper. That's her character's name. And it also follows Oliver, played by Jonah Wren Phillips. And this is only his third role, in which his other film was not very popular. So in a lot of ways, this movie is a breakout role for these very young actors. And that is admittedly a very good thing. I love seeing new faces in the horror genre and just in genres in general. The other actors, Sally Hawkins and Billy Borat. I have seen these people in some other movies, and I mean, Sally Hawkins is a very good actor, so I'm very happy with her performance in this movie. She definitely does carry it alongside the child actor Jonah Wren Phillips. So this movie definitely relies on the fact that no one likes watching kids get hurt, and it's okay to clearly focus on something like that, and this movie does that, but to an extent that I can't say I appreciate. I don't know if you guys have seen this horror movie named Funny Games. I talked about it in a podcast, a Weekend Film way back when, and that movie relies on the fact that no one likes watching people get tortured. And this movie, the whole movie, was set up to be a bad guy wins. This whole movie was set up to really sucker punch you until you gave up and just let the bad guy win, and it doesn't do that. And obviously, it's nice when the good guys win and the bad guys lose, but this movie feels like it was forced in. I'm gonna get a little into spoilers right now, but I just don't believe that after everything that Laura had done, she would suddenly find her heart when she was trying to drown poor Piper. I just don't believe it. A lot of this movie just doesn't feel very convincing. A lot of it feels very misacted by a lot of people, mainly Andy's actor, Billy Barrett. This guy really doesn't act very well. A lot of it feels just infuriating. This whole movie, you have this feeling that something big is about to happen, something that you're going to cheer and clap for, aka Laura, getting killed, and it literally never happens. It feels like there's so little impact in this movie. It feels like nothing happens by the end of it. Even though, and spoilers again, you lose one of the main characters, it doesn't feel like there's an impact. You never see a scene where Piper is just so destroyed and downbeaten that she can't even cry. There's nothing to it. This whole movie felt very flat emotionally. And directing-wise, I mean, it looks pretty, and there are some mildly interesting choices with music usage and things like that, but otherwise this movie is pretty by the book. I'd say that this movie is also rather reserved for being a horror movie, or a self-described horror movie at least. My parents don't think it was very scary, and they don't think it deserved the title horror movie. They thought of it as more of a suspense thriller, and honestly, I can see where they're coming from with that, because other than a couple standout scenes, I will mention that scene if you've seen this movie in a minute. Other than a couple standout scenes, it definitely doesn't have much to chew on. I will say, though, there are a few things in horror that I dislike in a good way less than, or dislike more than Teeth. And that scene with the little kid, with poor little Oliver, eating the knife is brutal and disgusting. I'd say the movie definitely peaks there for me. Everything else just never really gets to that level. Overall, I really don't have much more to say. I'd say it's a 6 out of 10. It's good, and there are still some pretty good moments, but I just wish it was better. I would go to the theaters to go see this. I definitely go with someone you know, especially someone who likes horror. But, not my thing. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching. I know this video is a little, this is a perfect video, and I'm sure you loved it the whole way through. I'll leave you be. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the theaters.